required, but if you are coming straight out of undergrad or school, it might be an opportunity for you to get some practical, hands-on skill building work experience while you're there. Our careers team will help you, help you identify and find an internship and have some time to get off campus and intern at companies small and large, from Ernst and Young to Citi to General Electric to Lenovo to Teach for China. So it gives you, it's an amazing opportunity to supplement, and once again, get that beyond a classroom learning experience. So Catalyst for Careers really summarizes what we do for you as the career development team. We're here to walk alongside you, starting from the moment you're admitted. Our careers team will be working with you all the way through to make sure that you prepare to maximize your experience as a scholar, make the most of your time at the college, and then set yourself up for success as you step into your career. And that support from our career development team goes on far beyond that during your time as alumni, as you continue to grow as a leader. So I just want to highlight, you can see some on the screen here, some of the options and some of the different services that our team offers. But ultimately, the way I think about it is we want to make sure that you are leveraging the network of the Schwarzman Scholars Program while you're there, in terms of the many companies and organizations that are looking to hire Schwarzman Scholars, but also leveraging the network of our alumni. We now have crossed over the 1,000 mark in the Schwarzman Scholars community, so we're now seeing Schwarzman Scholars start to hire Schwarzman Scholars working in companies and organizations around the world. So it is an amazing opportunity to see this network actually, and the mission of the program starting to manifest and actualize as we grow. And we are currently on the search for the 10th cohort of Schwarzman Scholars, which is a massive milestone for the program that we look forward to celebrating. So just to give you a sense of student life, obviously it is a robust and vibrant student life at Schwarzman College, both within the walls of Schwarzman College and the larger Tsinghua University community. Lots of clubs and organizations to get involved in. One that I always find special when I visit Schwarzman College is to go to Steve's Briefs, which is a club that started with the first cohort. It's an opportunity for scholars to share with the community a passion, project, a hobby, a skill, an interest that they want the community to know about. And when Steve's at the college, we'll go down to the pub and join Steve's Briefs, and it's an amazing opportunity to get to know your community. Another thing to highlight, if you're an athlete, that the Schwarzman Scholars has fully integrated the Tsinghua community and culture around athletics. There's a Chinese saying that says, if there's no sports, there's no Tsinghua. So it's a massive part of the culture of the university. So we have Schwarzman College teams that can participate in everything from soccer to football to basketball. So a great way to get to know the community. Tsinghua University itself, with over 53,000 students in the community, has a wonderful and robust student life and many, many different ways to get involved. So we always encourage scholars to be intentional, to get out of the walls of Schwarzman College and integrate and connect with the larger Tsinghua University community. And then this firsthand experience in China that I mentioned earlier, this is the ultimate way to learn about China, to get that front row seat, to understand the culture, the language, the people, and where China is and its role in the world today. You have to be there. You have to get out. You have to experience it for yourself. So we offer lots of ways for you to do that. They're both program sponsored and scholar led. Field trips, visits to cultural sites around China, travel opportunities. And then we also have scholars who have started to organize deep dives themselves, where they're bringing fellow scholars with them home to Chinese New Year break, for example, in their hometown in China, or going to a different part of East or Southeast Asia, because Beijing is such an amazing travel hub to get you anywhere in the region very quickly. So highly encourage you to take advantage of the opportunity to explore China and explore the region during your time as a scholar. So Schwarzman College, you're home while you are a Schwarzman Scholar. I just want to give you a sense of what it's like to live there. And one of the things that sets us apart from all other competitive master's programs is this element of residential study. You will sleep, study, dine, socialize, network, and connect all within the walls of Schwarzman College. So faculty members will be living there, making themselves available outside of classroom hours for a beer at the pub or a walk around campus. It really creates an incubator of young leaders from around the world, across industries, across fields of study, living and studying together and helping you really expand your worldview and achieve your goals together. So it is in the heart of Tsinghua University. I love visiting and getting the chance to be there and stay and connect with the scholars. So encourage you to go online, do the 360 tour to get more of a sense. But I do want to show you some pictures of what Schwarzman College looks like. This is what you see when you enter the courtyard, where you often will see scholars doing yoga or hanging out, doing work, chatting, networking. Each scholar will have their own private dorm room with a private bath, and each hallway is connected by a common room, which acts as a hub for a group of 8 students. The room assignments are designed to maximize the international and professional diversity among the scholars, so you're constantly learning from each other, even in the residence hall. You'll often walk through these rooms and see them alive with activity and conversation late into the night. Whether it be discussing or debating topics, big and small, sharing insights, challenging each other's assumptions, learning to listen to someone whose perspective is very different from your own. So it's another way that Schwarzman College residential community serves as an incubator. Just to give you a sense of the classroom, this is a typical classroom setup at Schwarzman College, really designed to foster interaction, obviously between the professor and the students, but also welcoming of international visitors who may be zooming in. All our faculty are in person, there to interact and engage with you. The courses are discussion based. They're designed to really get you interacting with each other and learning from each other, and the amazing way that you as in your field of leadership in your discipline, you're sitting next to people on both sides of you that are from completely different academic backgrounds or professional disciplines than you. So when you're studying a topic like China's current role in the 21st century, or the economic development of China, or looking at different types of leadership and what leadership looks like in context around the world, you're getting those perspectives from scholars from nearly 40 countries in your own cohort, who are bringing their own background and experience to the table. So really an amazing learning opportunity within the classrooms. The library resources are designed to get you access to the research resources that you may be used to coming from whatever context you're coming from around the world, both online and in person, that will supplement your academic time as a scholar, for things like research, for your capstone, for example. So we have an amazing in-person library, but also a robust digital resource library as well for research. I want to highlight the auditorium, which is another key spot on campus. Throughout the year, I love visiting this room. It's where we have our fireside chats and lectures. We have leaders from around the world who now see Schwarzman College as a gathering place for the next generation of leaders, and they bring that experience and firsthand knowledge with them to really interact and impart that wisdom with you. A couple of people to highlight: people like Christine Lagarde, who's the managing director of the International Monetary Fund; Madame Liu, the vice premier of China. One of the guests who visited the college many times was a great friend of the program, Madeleine Albright, the former U.S. Secretary of State. So it really gives you a sense of the caliber of these leaders who come, and oftentimes when you get to go to a fireside chat, they're often accompanied by a lunch or a dinner or a networking session where you get to interact with these leaders and really break down that perceived hierarchy between leaders and students to see both the human and the personal side of leadership. One of the people that I've gotten to know through my time in the program is Kevin Rudd, the former Prime Minister of Australia. He always comes and lives in a residence at the college and teaches a course, and offers discussion and an opportunity to get to know him. So where in the world can you take a course from a former head of state who's there sharing their firsthand experience with you as you prepare for your own career? Just an incredible experience. So that is the auditorium. And last but not least, I want to show you the forum, which is really the heart of Schwarzman College, just the first place that you walk into the building, and it's one that is always alive with activity. This is on the morning of our convocation, so it's alive with scholars in there, Schwarzman scholars, scarves and ties, along with faculty. But it's a great place that as well fosters that incubation type atmosphere where you're always learning from each other, you're always interacting, always connecting with your fellow scholars and visitors and faculty members and staff at the college. So this alumni network, we started out telling you that the alumni network really is the entire point of this program. That could not be more true, especially today as this network crosses the 1,000 mark. So as I mentioned, it is a lifelong community. Your time in China is really just the beginning. It's an entry point to the community. It's your support system, and our alumni association and our staff really work to strengthen the bonds of this global network and provide you with enrichment opportunities, and help you continue to connect with the mission and the themes of the academic program, continue to develop your leadership skills individually and as a network, and ultimately continue to enable you to serve as a connector between China and the rest of the world. Some programming is academic in nature, such as with the National Committee on U.S.-China Relations, for example, or with the Rhodes Trust, talking about things like ethical leadership, for example. We also have intellectual engagement and opportunities to connect socially with each other. We have now over 15 hub cities around the world where you have a core of Schwarzman scholars, and we sponsor things like Chinese New Year dinners, for example, where scholars are connecting not only with members of their own cohort, but also members of the other cohorts. So getting to know that larger network. And, a scholar from the first cohort ends up connecting with the scholar from the sixth cohort, for example, and no telling what kind of collaboration that leads to. We're hearing that time and time again. As Sarah and I travel around the world with our team and connect with scholars, we're hearing example after example of how this network is alive and connecting and evolving as these scholars work together to make an impact. So I think there's no more exciting time to join the program than right now as we search for the 10th cohort. And on the theme of search, I will turn it over to my colleague Sarah to chat us through the admissions process.
Thank you, Wyatt. That was an incredible overview, and I want to thank everyone who has put questions into the Q&A. You've certainly been keeping me busy, and I love it. So thank you so much for all these really wonderful questions. A lot of the questions that have come into the chat, or into the Q&A rather, have been pertaining to our admission process. So I'm really glad we can cover that today and get into a little bit more detail. Just to sort of start us off, the Schwarzman Scholars Program is very comprehensive in its scholarship, so it allows us to select the most promising candidates from around the world without consideration for their ability to afford a year in Beijing, a year abroad. The scholarship covers tuition, room and board, travel, and other expenses. We really believe that this allows all of these future leaders to really come to the table regardless of their background or future career aspirations. And so the reason why Mr. Schwarzman and more than 100 other donors from all over the world committed to doing this is that they really want to make sure that bringing people together will have the raw talent to really step into leadership roles regardless of family background or financial background or educational background. This, I think, it's a really a sign and testament to the number of international support we have worldwide that spans anything from governments, private sector, folks that are really interested in seeing the next generation of young leaders come together. So we'll talk a little bit about what sort of the eligibility requirements and sort of the key traits that we're looking for. As I put into the chat a few times, there's no one experience that we're looking for when it comes to a Schwarzman scholar. But at the very basic level, we have some basic qualifications. So applicants must be between the ages of 18 to 28. They can be of any citizenship and any level of Mandarin to apply. So China experience is not required. Instead, we're looking for things like demonstrated leadership and the key traits below. So if you have deep experience in China, you'll need to be able to articulate how Schwarzman scholars will be different from what you've already achieved and will build on your clearly established leadership experience. Additionally, you must have completed your undergraduate degree or be close enough to completing that so that you'll finish before you enter the college. And you must be proficient in English to be eligible for this program, as courses are taught in English. We do require some English proficiency exams, and that policy is on our website for you to review. All these elements of the application are really help to determine your leadership abilities. So this sort of goes into some of the key traits here. Things like your academic record, they're meant to tell us whether you have the intellectual agility to apply learning to solving real world problems rather than solely your ability to perform in a classroom. And your essays similarly tell us about the evolution of your interests, your experience in leading organizations or projects. The video, the 1-minute video, gives the committee a very informal sense of your personality and interpersonal skills, which is an important element of your leadership. When we examine applications, we're really looking to answer one question. Does this person have what it takes to be a leader in their chosen field? So with regard to leadership, and I know this was a question we got into the Q&A, in regards to leadership, we want to see examples of how you've taken initiative, how you've used your interpersonal and intercultural skills to motivate others to achieve a goal, and how you deal with obstacles to drive results. By intellect, we mean the ability to understand the world around you and design solutions to problems you see. So we're interested not only in academic excellence, but more importantly, how you apply what you know to produce positive outcomes. And for character, we want to know what values are important to you and how they shape the way you work. We want to know that you base your actions on a system of values, that the communities around you know your values, and that you have the confidence and humility to work well with others whose values are different than yours. Next slide. So once you submit your materials, selection happens in 2 phases, with high-level readers and interviewers from around the world participating. Application readers take your culture and educational background into account, as well as really what leadership looks like in your country and professional field. One question that we got into the Q&A is, does it help to submit your application early? Or is it okay to sort of wait till around the deadline to submit? And the answer is that we really don't start reading until the application deadline. So those high-level readers will really start to dig into your application once the deadline has closed. All study finalists are invited to interview in person with high-level panels of executives, CEOs, political leaders, and senior academics who bring a lot of different perspectives to the table, particularly as it pertains to leadership. Interviews take place in Beijing, London, New York, and additionally, we'll have a virtual interview day for those not able to join us in person. Past interviewers include General David Petraeus, former Prime Minister Brian Mulroney, Ambassador Caroline Kennedy, and some really, really just exciting high-level people that will be able to talk to you about your experience. Next slide. So there are 2 application deadlines. This reflects the timeline for graduate school applications in China. So if you have a passport from China, Hong Kong, Macau, Taiwan, you'll follow the top timeline here, and all other citizenships not already mentioned will follow the bottom timeline. The selection criteria is the same for both rounds, so never fear, this will be applicable to everyone. The deadline for the top timeline there is May 31st, and interviews will take place in July. The application is available on the Tsinghua University Schwarzman Scholars website. The online application for the US and global applicants to our next cohort will open in April, and the deadline will be in September. The interview and selection process will take place in late October. In late October in London, and then in early November in New York. And then obviously the class will be announced in December, January, and then that would be matriculation for the following. So if you're interested and engaged and eager to learn more about Schwarzman Scholars, I would really encourage you to visit our website. We have a lot of really robust resources to really help you and guide you and answer your questions throughout this process. We're going to be hosting multiple sessions in the next month leading up to the application deadline that will include alumni panels as well, which I think will be very exciting. So through our virtual sessions, you can learn more about our selection process and unique elements of Schwarzman Scholars. And you can also reach out to us directly at admissions@schwarzmanscholars.org, as well as our presence on a variety of social media platforms. Some people also mentioned in the Q&A, we have a YouTube channel that has a lot of really incredible pre-recorded content, and also gives you, like Wyatt was saying, a really taste of the college, which I think is a really special place. So without further ado, I think we will head into the Q&A for some live questions.
Great. Thanks, Sarah. I think one theme that I've seen come up in the chat box and the Q&A box is around when to apply. First, there was a great question that came in about from a first-year undergraduate student asking, like, what can you do over the next few years to make yourself more competitive with the program? I think that's it's great to have this program on your radar early, and I think you want to think of it through the lens that Sarah talked about and how to prepare yourself as a leader and demonstrate leadership during your time as an undergraduate to really make yourself competitive for this program. So you want to think about how are you successfully gathering a group of people around an idea that you're passionate about, bridging the gap between perspectives, driving that group to move forward and accomplish something and get something done on that issue. That looks like many, many different things in many different contexts around the world. But that's one way to think about it as you prepare yourself and map out your leadership trajectory. I think if you have an opportunity, I encourage you to go to schwarzmanscholars.org, click on the scholars page, read through the bios of the current cohort, for example. I would encourage you, if you do that, don't just look at 5 or 10 or 15 bios, read 50 bios, read all 150 if you can, because it gives you an opportunity to see what the leadership arc looks like at Schwarzman Scholars. You'll see that there's not one type of leader. A lot of people at our program, a lot of people hear the name Steve Schwarzman, think you have to be a business leader. Of course, business leaders are one of many, many different types of leaders we have in the network, everything from art to engineering to public health, for example, in our program. So no matter your academic or professional background that you're coming with, we want to see how you've demonstrated leadership in your life. One other practical function of our website that I'll highlight, if you click on the application instructions page in our admissions section of the site, we have an eligibility tracker at the bottom of the page that you can actually enter your birthday and answer a few questions about when you'll earn your degree. That will tell you your eligibility. We do have a very strict age requirement that Sarah mentioned. So I think that's one of the important first steps. If you are closer to our age limit of 28, I encourage you to plug in your birthday and you'll get an automatic and instant notification about your eligibility for the program. And then last but not least, I'd love to get your thoughts on this too, Sarah. A lot of people have asked about the interview process. Sarah and I get to be a part of interviews every year, and it's one of our favorite days of the year where we get to know our scholars and where leaders from around the world gather. As Sarah mentioned, as interviewers, Steve really has assembled an amazing team who work together in panels of usually 6 to 8 interviewers to really get to know you as an interviewer, as a candidate for Schwarzman Scholars. There is not a list of 10 questions that everybody's going to be asked. There is not a form for the interview. It's really focused on getting to know you and your leadership impact and the vision that you have for the future and how you see Schwarzman Scholars really fitting into that. So I encourage you to do mock interviews, work with people in your life who really know your leadership and your passion and your impact well. Have them ask you questions about that and probe your application and elements of of who you are as a leader to help you really prepare to articulate that to a panel of leaders who they themselves are leaders from many different backgrounds and perspectives who are there to really get to know you more. So Sarah, any other tips from your experience working with the interview process?
No, I think Wyatt, I think I think our candidates that really do have a team of support, not just in the interview process, but throughout the entire application process, I think do fare well. And again, it don't have to be professionals, it can be family, it can be friends, but people that are able to review some of your work, look over your essays, give you some feedback. And I always think that's helpful heading into an interview setting. One question sort of going off of that too is if you're not based in the US or UK, that doesn't automatically put you into the virtual day. We do accommodate transportation to our various interview sites. It's only if you're not able to make it due to other conflicts or restrictions. So we do invite you to come in person if that is feasible for you. There's one other question that I wanted to touch on about tips for reapplicants. And there was a few questions about, can I reapply? Is that a disadvantage? And I would say it's not at all. We have many scholars that have applied twice, 3 times sometimes, and sort of got it on that last try. And I think what's really helpful about being a reapplicant or thinking about reapplying is that you've been through the application before, you sort of know the questions that are coming, and you've had more time to really think through your leadership story and your narrative and what you really want to elevate in your application. So you won't be at a disadvantage at all. In fact, our reviewers don't have your previous application material on hand when reviewing your application. So there's no need to sort of think about those journeys in the last application, with the exception of the question that does repopulate for all of our reapplicants is what has changed since the last time you applied? And I think that's a really important guiding question. If you're able to really think through that answer, and it doesn't have to be necessarily a job change or a graduation, it can be the ways in which you're thinking about your application and your mindset moving forward. I think that's always a really helpful guiding light heading into the application.
Great. Thanks, Sarah. That's super helpful. And I just want to echo Sarah and saying welcome and love to see candidates reapply. One last question I just want to highlight that's come up several times is about the timing of applying to the program. Just so you know, one thing I did mention earlier is that usually each year we have about half of our scholars who come in who are coming straight out of school, maybe undergrad or another graduate program, and the other half come in typically with a few 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years of young professional work experience. So one thing to note is that is not a quota in the admissions process, just kind of how the cohort lands every year. And also that is not it's not a leg up or leg down in the process depending on when you apply. It's the way you should think about it is really about your own leadership trajectory and where this program fits in the most and where you think you want to really highlight your demonstrated leadership to the committee. So if you're applying straight out of school, that leadership may look like something in your undergraduate career or school career so far in your context, in your community, out in the world. As a young professional, we understand that as a 23-year-old, you may not be the president of a company or have a senior level title in an organization, but we know that leadership can take on many, many different forms as a young professional as you take on projects and initiatives at an organization, large or small. So think about how you're demonstrating leadership and what context you're demonstrating it, and thinking about how you can articulate that to the committee. But it's really up to you on when you end up applying. So with that, I want to keep us the time and make sure we're respectful of everyone's time today. I want to wrap us up. Sarah and I have so enjoyed spending time with you today. We hope, as I mentioned at the beginning, that this is really just the beginning of the conversation and one that will continue. As a couple of questions have come in, I'll just highlight as we finish today that our application process will open in mid-April for the 10th cohort of Schwarzman Scholars. This process that will take place over the course of the fall semester and will culminate in us announcing the class in December, January, going into 2025. This is all to start at Schwarzman College at Tsinghua in August of 2025. So that gives you a sense of the timeline for the upcoming process. As Sarah mentioned, and we look forward to working with you throughout it. You have all of our information here, and we encourage you to follow up, reach out, continue the conversation. And we are so delighted that you're interested in the program and hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Wyatt. Have a good one, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.